Skyping us now for more is finance expert Mark Bouris. Mark, $130 billion is being committed to this 6-month scheme. So tell us, who's eligible?
Okay, so first let's get it clear. The money goes to the employer and then the employer is to pass it on to the employee. The employees that qualify are employees that have been employed up from 1 March this year. So if you had lost your job prior to 1 March, like a month ago, beginning of this month, you're not someone who was qualified for this. You have to go onto the job seeker line. You have to go back to Centrelink. So people who were employed from 1 March and may well have been put off since 1 March or may have had their hours reduced since 1 March and are either a part-time employee or a full-time employee, then those individuals are entitled to receive from the company up to $1,500 per fortnight. So the objective here is to get employers to keep employees on from 1 March and to be able to put in a baseline for those employees of $1,500 a fortnight, which happens to be more than what you would get if you went back to Centrelink.
Mm-hmm. So is this subsidy going to be enough, though, Mark, to keep workers afloat?
Well, maybe the question is, David, is this enough to keep employers enthusiastic enough to continue to pay their employees to keep the business afloat? So let's say I've got a business, I've got no income. My game would be I will keep all those employees on and the government's going to give me $1,500 a week as an employer. And by the way, this applies to sole traders as well, but they're going to give me $1,500 a fortnight as employer to employ people, staff, and I'll give them the $1,500. In other words, I might not be making any money, but I can still keep a staff member on there and I can actually guarantee them that I'll be able to pay them $1,500 a fortnight, which means they don't have to join the Centrelink line. They will get more money on this scheme than they will get if they went to Centrelink, which means I can keep my employees, I can guarantee them that I can at least pay them $1,500 a fortnight.
Okay, so if the money's going to the employer, what about those who need to get the job seeker payment who are lining up at Centrelink? How does that one differ?
Well, if you're a job seeker, you have to go and line up at Centrelink, which means that you are not entitled to this $1,500. So the choice sits with the employer. The employer can sort of say, okay, look, I'm just closing shop. I'm not going to take this $1,500 a fortnight for any of my employees or for all of my employees. I'm just going to close the business because I just can't afford all the other costs associated with employing people. So that employer would say to those individuals, look, you have to go to Centrelink and line up and get your, I think it's $1,070, whatever it is, a fortnight, and become a job seeker. As opposed to me, if I decided to keep my business, my doors open for my staff, that doesn't mean they're actually coming to work, they've got to work from home, of course. I will pay what the government gives me. That's $1,500 a fortnight. I'll pass it on to my employees. So this is about employers being encouraged to keep employees on the books at a baseline of $1,500 a fortnight. Now, the employer might choose to pay them more. That's okay. The employer can do that. But there's a baseline for employees. They know that if they stay in this business or stay attached to this business, even if they're working from home or not working at all, just staying attached to this business, they will get $1,500 a fortnight. They don't have to go into the local Centrelink and line up. They're getting paid through the employer, and the employer will get that money on 1 May. The reason for that is it starts 1 May, backdated to now, but the reason for that is because it is attached to the statements that employers put in late April about employees employed. In other words, they put out their PAYG stuff, they put in their BAS statements in April. That's the reason it's 1 May.
Okay, Mike, there's a lot of division out there amongst the business community about whether we should have just locked down the country now, despite the uncertainty of what happens on the other side of that. Where do you sit on this? Do you think that it's better to just slam this curve right to a flat line here by doing a nationwide lockdown? Is that a viable option for businesses? Where do you stand on that?
I think we'll probably see that in a week or two's time. So my view on it, I mean, it's not necessarily the view of the government.
Should be better rather than later, sooner rather than later.
I'd rather go hard early. But the question then becomes, the question that I don't know the answer to is, what is our infrastructure like in this country in order to be able to sustain these sorts of decisions. Now, this is all about infrastructure. All this decision making is about the health infrastructure. What can the health infrastructure withstand? So I think governments are making decisions based first and foremost on the infrastructure of the health system, what it can withstand, and then secondly, what is the long-term economic effect going to be? But first and foremost, the way I read it is all about infrastructure and what can the infrastructure withstand. So those decisions have been made by people who have far greater insights into the health system than I do.
Yeah, we've already seen the stimulus packages, but I mean, where do you see the state of Australian businesses in 6 months' time? As you said, we've got the health crisis and the economic crisis.
Well, I think in terms of the Australian economy, I think what we will see over the next 60 to 120 days, 100% is a huge unemployment number. And people, therefore, draining the coffers of the Australian government balance sheet, which, by the way, is our money, draining the coffers of the Australian government balance sheet. So my gut feeling is we could get anywhere up to, 15 to 20% unemployment as a number. And the government correctly have decided that they're going to at least keep those people reimbursed either through the employer job keeper package, and it got announced on Sunday night. That's the $1,500 a fortnight for each employee, or through the job seeker environment, which is where you line up a Centrelink, plus the $750 once-off payment that goes to pensioners and to everybody else, and plus the $550 per fortnight for those people who don't have a job, who are getting, that's called the COVID payment. So there's a lot of money flowing out of government. So do you ask me where I think the economy is going to be?
Yeah.
I think we're going to be in a really bad spot because we don't have enough people generating what I call the retail sector. So the retail sector makes up 60% of gross domestic product in this country. Most retailers are closed.
Yeah.
Most retailers are closed. So therefore, 60% of Australians are not going to have a job to go to, or not going to earn the same amount of money that they would ordinarily earn if they earned over the $1,500 a fortnight, which means they've got less money to put back into the economy.
And that's going to be a problem when we're trying to ramp up the economy again. Mark Bouris, we're out of time again. We'll touch in with you again next week and see if some of your predictions do come true then, whether this will go lockdown harder, faster, right?
Yeah, okay.
All right, thanks mate.